Grab a seat, everyone. Welcome to today's Explainer. I'm going to be your professor today, guiding you through an absolutely profound, evidence-based reframing of South Asian history and human genetics. We're diving into a brilliant masterwork of research synthesis by Mario Arland, titled The Song of Our Genes. Seriously, prepare to have basically everything you thought you knew about the Indian subcontinent fundamentally shifted. Okay, let's quickly run through our syllabus for the day. We've got 5 key areas. First, our thesis on genetic democracy. Second, integrating the ancestral streams. Third, the geometry of trust. Fourth, the song's great freeze. And finally, we'll look at the modern genomic thaw. We're kicking things off by completely rejecting those tired old historical models, the ones obsessed with pure bloodlines and vertical ladders of conquest. Because as this fantastic quote from Arland reminds us, the history was written by the victors. The truth is written in the blood. True history isn't some dusty colonial text. It's a biological ledger, and modern sequencer machines, they don't read colonial ledgers, they read DNA. All right, moving straight into section 1, thesis, genetic democracy. Listen, genetic democracy is not just some catchy political slogan. It is a hard biological fact. It literally means that beneath every single social wall, beneath every modern category of caste or region you can think of, the biological bedrock of the subcontinent is absolutely identical. We're talking about a 65,000-year-old unbroken inheritance. You've got 4 main ancestral pillars: the indigenous foragers, the early farmers, the eastern rice cultivators, and the northern pastoralist. And those 4 pillars, they are present in almost every single person on the subcontinent today. It's truly mind-blowing. Okay, on to section 2, integrating the ancestral streams. So how did those pillars actually come together? Well, think of our genetic history like a massive, multi-part musical composition. The indigenous ASI hunter-gatherers, the ancient ancestral South Indians, they laid down this deep, ancient, 65,000-year rhythmic drone. I mean, these people were so resilient, they survived the catastrophic Mount Toba super eruption 74,000 years ago, and they didn't even drop a beat technologically. Then, much later, right around 7000 BCE, Iranian agricultural herders from the Zagros Mountains migrated through the Bolan Pass, and they introduced an entirely new tempo to the song. When we examine the primary source documents, we clearly see these 2 distinct streams. The ASSI brought deep maternal bedrock, acoustic mastery, and just incredible ecological resilience. On the flip side, the Zagolasians brought sedentary logic, mud brick technology, and, well, goats. And what happens when these 2 groups finally meet at Murgar? They integrate perfectly. It's this beautiful polyphony of biology and culture weaving together. And crucially, it didn't happen through conquest or war. It happened through shared hearths, shared meals, and shared children. The really vital takeaway here is that in this merger, the ASI women provided the maternal matrix. They pass down their mitochondrial DNA, specifically Haplogroup M, which, by the way, is found in over 60% of Indian women today, completely regardless of caste or geography. And brilliantly, they pass down their unique phonetic sounds. Think of those retroflex consonants, those hard-rolling T's and D's. They created the absolute bedrock of this shared genetic song. Make no mistake, the matriarchs built the foundation. Let's pivot slightly for section 3, the geometry of trust. Class, I want you to burn this ratio into your memory. 4 to 2 to 1. This specific geometry represents an exact ratio of length, width, and thickness, and it was used for literally every single Harappan baked brick across 1.5 million square kilometers. Just pause and wrap your head around that scale for a second. From the tiniest interior walls to the most massive civic centers, this mathematical ratio remained absolutely immutable across the entire Indus Valley civilization. No variations, just perfect consensus. And what this brilliantly illustrates is a civilization built entirely on horizontal trust. It shows a shared agreement and a staggering collective intelligence. Unlike Egypt or Mesopotamia, where they were busy building massive vertical monuments to towering god kings, the Harappans, they built universally planned drains, standardized street grids, and uniform weights. It was a physical, visual metaphor for their deeply integrated genetic democracy. Equality was quite literally baked right into the mud bricks. To prove this, the math from the Genome India findings lays it all out, representing a beautiful, deeply woven genetic tapestry. You've got the Indus Prephory, which was a seamless mix of about 70% Zagrosian and 30% ASI. Then, as climate change forced the civilization to diffuse and move south, it mixed further with indigenous populations, creating the ancestral South Indian profile, about 75% ASI. Meanwhile, up in the north, steppe pastoralists arrived and merged with that Harappan base to form the ancestral North Indian profile. Every single modern profile is just a different variation of that exact same shared composition. But the music eventually encounters an unprecedented disruption. Section 4. The Song's Great Freeze. Right around 100 CE, this flowing genetic river hits a massive dam. The composition basically paused mid-note for nearly 2,000 years. What were the mechanisms of this freeze? Well, it was driven largely by the composition of the Dharma Shastras, which took the caste system and systematized it into rigid, legally enforced endogamy. That means you could only legally marry within your specific group. Why do this? Primarily to tie agricultural inheritance and land ownership to closed patriarchal groups. But biologically, it locked these beautifully integrated genetic pillars into thousands of rigid, isolated silos. It was a massive fermata, just holding the music completely in place. And the consequence of this long fermata was a biological reality called the founder effect. This is a medical time bomb, guys. When you force a small group to only marry within itself for 2 millennia, any rare mutations get trapped and amplified. It created highly specific medical vulnerabilities. For example, the Patel cardiac thickening variant, or very specific blood disorders found in Bengali communities. The caste system absolutely did not create different races. It just trapped medical mutations inside isolated social jars. But there is good news. Let's move to our modern era to see how this historic freeze is finally melting away. Section 5. The Modern Genomic Thaw. The music is restarting today, right now. And it's being driven by 3 incredible modern forces. Step 1, the urban solvent. Think about the city cafeteria or the corporate tech park. These environments completely break down those ancient ritual distances. Step 2, the digital hearth. Algorithmic dating and matrimonial apps where users can just click cast no bar are totally replacing traditional village matchmaking. And step 3, the self-aware genome. When you sequence your own DNA and see that you share the exact same foundational building blocks as the people you were always told were entirely different, the mythology of pure blood simply vanishes. It democratizes the ancestral data. And this all builds directly into something incredibly exciting called Precision India. We are finally healing a 2,000-year-old biological wound. Through projects like Genome India, we are actively mapping the exact founder effects of that freeze. We're developing indigenous gene therapies like Bursa 101 for sickle cell anemia to heal the highly specific medical consequences of endogamy. We aren't just relying on Western reference genomes anymore. We are actually reading and treating our own shared genetic democracy. So class, as this great thaw accelerates, the distinct voices of our ancestors, that deep ASAI rhythm, the Zagrozian tempo, the Austroasiatic melody, and the steppe harmony, they are all finding one another across the walls once again. That 4 to 2 to 1 geometric trust of the Harappans, it's returning. So I leave you with this question to ponder. As these lineages weave back together, what will our genetic song sound like next? How will our newly reconnected biological symphony shape the future? Until next time, keep studying the syllabus of our shared history. Class dismissed.